Yes.
Okay. Hello. Our team is from Kearsley High School. We're from the Flint City area, and we're very grateful for this opportunity to speak with you all this morning.
I'm Audrina Grappa.
My name is Ethan Sellers.
My name is Cameron Welch.
I'm Ava Salem.
And I'm Brianna Sierra.
So the first thing that we're going to be covering today is Michigan's economic overview. We're going to be talking about unemployment, population, key sectors carrying Michigan's economy and labor market, and gross domestic product. So the first thing that we're going to talk about is unemployment. Michigan currently has an unemployment rate of 5%, while the United States as a whole has an unemployment rate of 4.1%. Michigan has an unemployment insurance agency that provides temporary financial assistance to individuals that are experiencing unemployment. This graph below shows the differences between Michigan and the U.S.'s unemployment rates between 2003 to 2023. The next thing that we're going to talk about is population in Michigan. Michigan's population is currently 10.1 million, and as of 2024, Michigan only grew 0.1% over the 5 years prior. Michigan is also ranked 42nd out of 50 states by growth rate, and Michigan is also ranked 15th among all states for having the oldest population. And then the graph above also shows Michigan's differences in population growth compared to other states and the United States as a whole. The next thing we're going to talk about is key sectors carrying Michigan's economy and labor market. The top 3 sectors by total employment are healthcare and social assistance, retail trade, and manufacturing. There are 900,000 businesses in Michigan, and that is a 2.1% increase in the last 5 years. And next, gross domestic product. As of 2024, the GDP in Michigan was $565.5 billion. This is a 1.8% increase from 2023 to 2024. The manufacturing industry contributed the most to Michigan's GDP, generating a value of $101 billion. It was followed by real estate, rental, and leasing for $74 billion, and professional, scientific, and technical services for $51 billion. And then the graph above shows the Michigan's GDP over time.
Now we're going to get into the local economic overview and the people of Flint, the housing, specifically about General Motors, the Flint water crisis, businesses in Flint, and where Flint is located. So the people of Flint, the median household income is far below the national average. The average of our household income is around $36,000. Nearly 1/3 of our population lives below the poverty line compared to an economically prosperous city like Bloomfield Hills, which only has 3.2%. But a big reason for this is 1/4 of our population is under 18, so not a lot of them have stable income yet. Housing, the average monthly rent is extremely low compared to the national average, and it's one of the most affordable cities to live in Michigan. The Flint water crisis was a huge economic impact. From 2014 to 2024, we're just getting over this economic hump. It led to a lot of long-term and structural problems, and General Motors, it closed down due to an ongoing loss of market share, and we had to lay off over half our employees in the 80s and 90s. Flint was a very economically prosperous in the automotive industry. Businesses, a lot of the industry, the main industries Flint is focused on are healthcare and manufacturing. Like we have the Hurley Hospital, and then a lot of manufacturing plants around. And once again, we were formerly prosperous in the automotive industry, hence the vehicle city nickname. Flint is located in Genesee County, and it's about 1 hour from Detroit, Lansing, Saginaw, and Ann Arbor. It's pretty much an hour from everywhere. And then Flint is surrounded by many thriving cities, so why aren't they?
So on the local problem overview, I'll be covering poverty in Flint, Michigan, unemployment and job unavailability in Flint, Michigan, and the aftermath of poverty and unemployment. Poverty was a significant portion of Flint and their economy, and once booming manufacturing city, Flint is now a city with high rates of unemployment and poverty. 40% of households have an income under $25,000, and this is critical because they do not have enough money to afford day-to-day needs and necessities. And as you can see in the image below, it's a map of cities in Flint, or cities in Michigan, and Flint is highlighted in bold red because they have 25 to 30% unemployment rate. And then poverty in Flint, Michigan has caused a major education gap. There is limited access to strong education, and many schools are closing because they cannot afford to stay open. Nearly 4,000 people experience homelessness, and 11,000 of those 4,000 are unsheltered, demonstrating lack of affordable income and housing, and they just can't afford to live in the city because of no jobs being available. So for unemployment and job unavailability in Flint, 52% of unemployed residents are unemployed due to job unavailability because there's nowhere for them to work. And high rates of unemployment also cause mental stress issues like stress, anxiety, and depression. In the graph below, I want to highlight 2020 where we had a 30% unemployment, and in 2024 we're right around 67% still. And when unemployment is high, typically crime rate is also. So individuals may resort to illegal activities to support themselves and their families. Unemployment and job unavailability also cause skilled workers to leave the city and search for better opportunities, leading to loss of talent. So they might go to Chicago, they might go to larger cities like Texas, and different states even. The aftermath of poverty and unemployment. Poverty and unemployment have caused a need for food stamps and government aid, which includes supplemental nutrition assistance program, health care, Medicaid, and housing assistance. Many soup kitchens have also opened, and food banks have opened to help those in poverty that cannot feed themselves and their families. And due to large amounts of debt and poverty, families are required to move out of their homes, resulting in 24,000 abandoned homes in Flint, and over 5,000 homes being demolished over the years. And on top of that, consumer spending has also decreased because the high rates of poverty and unemployment impact local companies, and consumers live paycheck to paycheck, struggling to spend money on needs, let alone their wants. How can we solve these problems?
For our proposed solution, we want to highlight the funding of the Mundy Township megasite, assisting a shift in perspective, minimize the negative surrounding impact of implementing a megasite, and improve the overall perception and availability of Flint Township by tackling blight. A megasite is a large piece of land developed by local and state governments along with private sectors to attract major manufacturing companies for significant industrial projects. The reason this would be really good in Flint is because we are an automotive town, and so we have a lot of manufacturing corporations that could invest into it. The megasite would be situated in Mundy Township near Bishop International Airport, Flint, the railroad tracks, I-69 and I-75. The House of Appropriations Committee, along with the Senate Appropriations Committee, already approved a $250 million grant, along with designating 1,000 acres of land for the megasite. Rigorous evaluations ensure the site meets criteria necessary for major industrial development, and the certifications will show potential investors that the site has minimized risk and is ready for development. Employee training will be supported by Kettering University, Mott Community College, and the University of Michigan Flint. Any development will be regulated by federal and state agencies, including the Michigan Department of Environment, Great Lakes, and Energy, and the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, ensuring that the least negative environmental impact will occur. The megasite will be required to bring in 2,000 jobs and invest $2 billion back into our local economy to ensure that it's successful. To do this, the megasite will create well-paying blue-collar jobs for workers without a college degree to make it more available to low-income individuals who can't afford to go to college. There are many advantages to being in the proximity of the megasite. Infrastructure benefits include the major transportation routes and utilities near the megasite being dialed in, diminishing logistical and operational expenses. Economic incentives are that governments investing in the megasite are attracted by the financial incentives of tax breaks and grants. An example of the potential of megasite successes is that the Tennessee Valley megasite in Spring Hill, Tennessee has already proven successful. General Motors invested $2 billion to transition the megasite to produce electric vehicles. The site employed 5,000 people directly, and the economic impact in the region was in billions of dollars, including taxes, value of jobs, and business expenses. Taking away that requirement of a college degree only requiring a certificate in the trade makes it more available to low-income individuals to begin working. The megasite has an opportunity to diminish the number of households that rely on government aid and unemployment. Due to the megasite being located off the I-69 and I-75, and Mundy Township being in a very close proximity to Flint, we'll be able to create more foot traffic to Flint, stimulating both the local economy and increasing the appeal for people to come and stay in Flint, Michigan.
So our current main concern moving forward is gaining public support, particularly by those impacted by the location of this mega site. A potential solution that we've looked into would be becoming more active within the community. By that, we could do this by taking advantage of local media, news, or radio sources to give regular updates on progress and to try and garner some excitement. We can also hold meetings open to the general public where we would answer questions and explain any concerns. All of this to promote transparency and also really build and focus on community. Our overall focus in this effort would be to bring together the residents and mega site together, because we want to make sure and ensure that the mega site doesn't feel like the stranger coming into this community that's somebody trying to take over. Instead, we want to very much promote it as we are uplifting those who are already living there, while also encouraging others to move there into the general Flint area. Some potential partners that we looked into were, of course, General Motors and Ford Motor Company. So another big concern of ours is, of course, the potential environmental impact that creating a massive industrial site on this rural land would inevitably have. So we suggest required environmental impact assessments to gain more information and understanding of these environmental effects of this project. That way, moving forward, steps may be taken to either avoid or minimize these effects. This would consist of in-depth screening, scoping, and preparing to get that detailed report. This also would help overall with the perception of this mega site and getting it introduced, simply because it would show that we are listening to the environmental concerns and outcry of civilians, and that we want to target that. So in addition, it is expected that the mega site will bring an increase to Flint's population due to the close proximity.
You're at time.
Okay.
I'll start with the first question. For this mega site, you guys are talking about how you're favorable to Ford and GM. Why is that? And then why would you not want to look to diversify instead, maybe?
That's right, we can take that. So first off, we know that Ford already has interest in general mega sites, for they have invested in the Michigan mega site, so we know that they would probably have some interest as well. And also just building on, there's been a lot of kind of concern from citizens of kind of moving away from our general culture of a community. And the fact that we've been so built in automotive industry and all of that, I feel like partnering with that and seeing like these integral parts of our community and how we've built up, partnering and supporting this mega site would help kind of calm some of those concerns.
Isn't that why Flint got harmed in the first place, though?
And that's a fair point, but I think that's why we showed the general support of like what we were built on, but it's also moving in this different direction going forward, where we can't focus solely on automotive, of course, but I think it is a good stepping stone to start off of. And then eventually, as we're building on new jobs and we're creating new spaces and we're bringing people in, hopefully that'll also, by stimulating the overall local economy, we can also support locally owned businesses as well and everything.
For another question, you guys mentioned waiving the requirement of a college degree at the mega site in order to make that opportunity open to all people, and I agree with that, but I was wondering, are you worried about a potential decrease in quality and performance if you're waiving that requirement?
I can take that one. Being able to have known colleges in our area, like the University of Michigan, Flint, Kettering, and Mott, and having them worry about the certification of the people trying to work at the mega site in the trades, it allows them to still get a formal education for a much more affordable price, where they're getting what they need to produce quality work. And with consistent regulations and checks both of the mega site and the development of the people working in it, in the production, it will allow them to keep track of how well the certification is working in terms of the education that the workers require and what they can do to invest in the education needed.
So I have a question. The southern tier states have been very successful with having mega sites, but they also invest a lot of money. They bring the infrastructure to the site. It's like turnkey, ready to go. And sometimes they have to sit on those sites for 20 years before somebody comes along. with the right investment, that fits the community, that fits the site. What would you suggest to Mundy Township and Flint to have, longevity into the site? I mean, there's somebody biting on the site right now, I know. But, you know, if that falls through, like, you have to have patience when you're selling off 1,000 acres of land. It's not every investment that's that size. So what would you think about for how to sustain this interest in a mega site?
So I can take this one, and I would say making it definitely community based will help, and especially with environment, because environment's a big thing lately. So ensuring that people know that it's environment friendly and it's not going to affect any of the communities and environment. And I also believe that investments with other businesses and incoming businesses will help, because the $2 million that are going to come into our local economy, that's business as well. So those businesses will see that the success, and then they can invest into our mega site. And I believe that overall this can help the longevity, and in the future help it stay along for 20, 30 years, or however long it's successful.
The question is like more is how they get there in the first place.
Well,
Right, you sure someone get there?
Well, it got there in the first place because since General Motors has declined slightly, we've been looking for a large area for large amounts of workers, and it's going to be employing about 5,000 workers and training and helping other people. And with the poverty rate in our economy, it's going to offer jobs, and that's going to bump up unemployment. It's going to help decrease unemployment and increase the average wage of a household.
I definitely think the whole training that's offered directly of kind of for those who may be in a position of their lives, or maybe they're a bit older but they never finished college and they're in that kind of struggling. I think that's a big incentive for startup, especially with our poverty levels and the unemployment. I think a lot of people are struggling to get jobs, and if that has to do with the education element, then I think the training offered is a big incentive for people to come and support those.
I love the focus on the training. You mentioned having the population in Flint has limited access to education. Why is that?
I can take this one. We have limited access to education because the Flint public schools are very poorly funded, so a lot of people don't tend to finish high school. Like, for example, Flint Central High School has been closed down for 20 some years now. Flint Northwestern recently closed, so a lot of Flint residents are resorting to other school districts like Flushing Community Schools, Kearsley Community Schools, Swartz Creek, instead of the Flint public school system.
And this is due to a decrease in state funding?
Yes.
For another question, you guys mentioned that a fourth of the population is under 18 in Flint, and you guys kind of tied that into the poverty rate, because these individuals aren't working and aren't supporting themselves. But I was wondering if you guys see this at all as a benefit for Flint's economic future, having this strong youth population?
I can take this one. I do think that we are seeing a lot of, our population is starting to grow a little bit more than it has been in recent years. And I think that with that, we will have a community of people that we will be able to grow upon. Like, we can build a foundation of the youth, and that will then prove that this mega site can be successful, because we can produce workers, because not everyone wants to go to college, not everyone wants to go get a degree, especially in our area. So I feel like this, with more people being born, and there will be more young people, so we can like push towards, if you don't want to go to college, you can, this is another opportunity for you if you don't want to go into that.
I'll ask a kind of a related question on the population growth. Getting back to your analysis at the state level, although we all know some of the data points are not strong for Michigan, some of them that you presented were quite optimistic, but the population growth is still stagnant. What would you say is one of the main reasons for that?
I think partly, I can at least start this one off, I think partly it's our perception, where I don't know if many people see Michigan as a place to end up. I think a lot of people see it as like this strong basis, But I find a lot of people who are like, yeah, I grew up in Michigan and then I had dreams of exploring the world, or I wanted to go to here, or big cities or other places with like exciting things to go for, I suppose. So I would say in some degree, it's that we don't have, I guess, draw tos, a lot of like strong new ones that seem exciting to maybe our younger generations as they grow up and everything. Because we also hear like this ideology where it's consistently said like, oh, go explore the world, go out there, go as far as you can. There's less of a kind of staying in your community and continuing forward.
Sorry, you're at time and I can't turn off the timer.
Thank you.
Good
Sorry.
answer. All right. Thank you guys. Good job.
Good job.